Real price drop in Central Otago Pinot.
Thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm warmly recommending that at $20 a bottle.
Yeah.
Not that this anyway implies an endorsement on behalf of, you know, and it's just a personal opinion.
Let me just rinse your glass there. But who would you most like to interview? This is one of the questions that's been burning me.
Right, well...
over a good bottle of wine. Dead or alive?
Oh, let's go for alive.
Okay, alive.
Dead makes it really hard. Mostly because I wouldn't say terribly much. But
I mean, you probably get asked this question all the time.
Except it's always, it changes constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I want to say George Bush because I'd really like to understand what's in his mind. And I'd like to understand if he's utterly cynical and disingenuous, or if actually some part of him believed that what he was doing was right. I'd really like to look, and I think the only way you can really know that is by looking at someone and being in their company. But actually, over a bottle of wine, the person I would most like to interview in the world at the moment that I can think of is Philip Roth, the American novelist. Because he's just, I mean, this man, I mean, you know... Do
you get time to read books?
Yeah, I'm obsessed. I'm totally obsessed with reading. And if you think, I mean, if you go back to, you know, Portnoy's Complaint, and, you know, you go back to when he was, you know, kind of... along with Saul Bellow and some others, but I think those two foremost among them, kind of reinventing American literature, which is 40 years ago now, and he is still writing at the top of his powers, and he's basically putting out a novel a year. Now my guess is he's well into his 70s, and he is just, I just think, and they are just brilliant. You know, they are brilliant. American Pastoral, I Married a Communist, A Dying Animal, you know, him and Bellow died a couple of year or two ago. I mean, they were just brilliant writers, and they have an insight, and more than that, I think what the Americans have over the Brits at the moment is a meter. For me, guys like Franson, Richard Ford, Bellow, Roth, they are the greatest novelists alive, and I don't think that, you know, that anyone who's won the Booker in the last 20 years is up with them, because the Brits, it seems to me, are going through a stage of minutely managing language in a self-conscious and slightly self-absorbed fashion, whereas
because it's our language.
Because it's our language.
Protective.
Yeah, and yeah, sorry, and whereas the Americans just go tell the story and carry the viewer through it, and it's the meter, it's the jazz, it's the come on, let's propel people into this book. Yeah. And if you, I don't, so
we're still reserved. We're a reserved kind of nation, apart from when we go out trying to conquer everybody.
No, I mean McEwan, brilliant writer, and I don't know, for me, so if I was going to, and Joan Didion, my dream evening would be with Joan Didion and Philip Roth, Richard Ford and Jonathan Franzen talking about American letters.
So a boys club with a cigar and around the table.
Be beautiful. And it will never happen. That's the metaphysical angst of life, the things that you will never do. Amazing, isn't it? The things we will never do. What are we drinking now?
Araha Pinot from Craggy Range, 2006, and now this is a wine that I think there are only probably about 900 bottles made, 3 barrels, it's a barrel selection.
Holy, thank you, Jason.
40% new French oak, hand harvested, which is one of the things I applaud in winemaking, where they hand harvest the grapes and they take care, because they've cultivated these grapes all the way through the season, and then a lot of people just go and then machine harvest and ruin the fruit. And then you have to put a lot more sulfur dioxide on. And then you cause allergies in people, and people start sneezing. But these guys, they've hand harvested and cradled and nurtured this fruit and made it into a wine.
So this
it's Martinborough.
And it'd be 3 times the price of the Brexy Sound?
And a little bit. 4
times the price.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Jason for bringing this beautiful wine for me to drink. Okay, so one question I'd love to ask, and I think people are, if this wine is roughly $20 and this one is roughly $80, do we expect to be able to taste that this wine is 4 times better than that one?
No.
So how can you justify a price difference of $60 between that and that? And how does somebody for whom $80 may be an enormous sum of money, which is basically everyone, why would they want to spend the extra $60 to get that instead of that?
Wine still retains this snob factor. I mean, it's got 92 points Wine Spectator, Wine Advocate, which is Neil Martin's and Robert Parker's points. 94 points Jamie Good. It's been hand harvested, so the fruits have been cared for. The yields are less, so you actually get less wine per acre. Yeah. And so that inflates the price already, and that's without any intervention in the winery and stuff like that. And a new oak barrel will cost you $1,500.
Right. Okay.
And if you've got 40% new, and mind you, it's only 3 barrels, 900 bottles. That's still a lot of capital invested in that fruit. And then they've done a barrel selection and said that's good enough to Araher. And Adrian, the guy who makes it, is very much he understands terroir, and he makes cool climate wines for Craggy.
Can you tell me the difference to your palate between that and that?
For me, if smell was a fabric, this would be velvet. That's what I get from that. I get almost a little bit of bacon kind of fat smell off the top of that.
It's a good thing.
And I've got an earthiness that I didn't get with this. I got a lot of fruit with this, and a bit of spice, pepper. And right at the back I get that kind of bacon fat smell and a bit of earthiness, but I do get a lot of fruit. And it's 06. And one of the things I like to do is open the bottle, not decant it, because most people don't decant their wine.
No, they don't.
No.
And I mean, if someone buys a bottle from the wine vault, it's probably consumed almost immediately in most cases.
Pretty much, yeah. I'd say we're getting up to 95%.
Right. Okay. And then and 95%, it's straight to the restaurant or home, no decanting, into the glass.
Yeah.
So you try and drink the way that your customers drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the only way you can give an independent, valid opinion. But it's still only my palate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you've got people all around the world that have got their own palates.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can't really dictate.
Yeah, you do seem on the prima facie evidence here, Wine Vault viewers, Wine Vault TV viewers, is that you know your stuff. It's nice listening to people talk like this.
It's for me, Pinot is the ultimate. It's the holy grail of wine, and when it's made well, it's a delight to drink. It takes you to that extra place, and
I agree.
But when it's made poorly,
when it's made poorly, it's such a disappointment, isn't it? Because you know, I mean, probably more so than any other wine, because when you take the top off, the cork or the screw cap or whatever, the sense of anticipation is so great. Much more so than if you're just, drinking a $16 Savvy or whatever. Yeah. And so... so
I still like cork in mine. I think it adds to the romance and the mystery, and everything changes. Yeah.
No, I agree. I was a big advocate of screw tops because they're just so simple, and you lose less, don't you, with them? Yeah, and also your parents are in the restaurant industry. Yeah, actually, so it's very good for on trade. Yeah, it is, and and it was Ralph Norris was a very big supporter of it when he was running Air New Zealand, and it's very good for their and business kind of off goes to the top. So I can understand why the service industry doesn't like corks much, but I can
understand it, and I can appreciate it, and I think there is a place for screw cap, but I think once you get above a certain threshold, I think that people want that romance.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree, especially at $80.
$80, you want a lot of romance.
Although Craigie Range would say, but what, so you pay $80 and the cork has spoiled the wine? Isn't it better to have no risk because you've had a screw cap?
We get a lot of returns on screw cap.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. I mean, it's a fallacy to believe.
Can I ask you, do people ever return the wine and say this wine's off, and you taste it or sniff it and think, no, it ain't? How often does that happen?
That happens.
Yeah, and so what do you do?
Replace the bottle.
Do you?
You've got to.
You can't say, actually,
they've bought it.
The customer is always right.
Yeah, and we get refunded by the winery.
Right, okay.
Because it's a wine fault. Right. Well, generally. Yeah. Well, it will be a wine fault by the time that we left it and they collect it.
I've had a couple of evenings, when friends have turned up with beautiful, this is, beautiful Chablis and stuff, old ones, because, it was a birthday or something, and you taste them and you think, oh, that one's off, and we poured one straight away. We